All I want for Christmas is a bigger package. That's the topic of this podcast today. So, welcome back to the channel with me, your host, Dr. Deborah Durst, and my co host.
Hey guys, Faraday Golombieski, family nurse practitioner here at Revitalize MD. And today we have another fun podcast.
Yeah, this one will be really fun.
This one's about men
Yeah.
and what you all are wishing for under the tree. And can you get what you're wishing for under the tree?
Yeah, and maybe sometimes the presents are a little bit bigger than some socks or
A tie.
Yeah, we want something bigger. So, this is a bigger package. So again, we're going to put some science in there, but have some fun with this one because it is around Christmas time. And so package size might be something to think about for your man. So anyhow, what does that mean exactly? So I think that one of the biggest search terms are, and I wasn't aware of it until we started to prep for this, how to get bigger, longer, a thicker penis, how to get
What's
bigger.
average?
Yeah.
What's normal? Am I normal?
Yeah. And I think there's a high, not obsession, I wouldn't want to say, but there is a lot of thought around that. And I think that Faraday came up with an interesting fact about 100% of men.
Yeah, it was the statistics show that only about 12% of men are actually considered smaller, but 100% of men have Googled at least once.
Yeah.
What's average size or how do you get it bigger?
Yeah. So that's interesting. So, but I do think that, again, the science is pretty much there that men probably think about that more than women do. And that's what we'll kind of get into and what you might be able to do to get a bigger package if that's what you're looking for. So the average penis size,
Yep, we'll start there.
5.1 with length. And so that's about average. And that's length and 2.9 for girth. But what's interesting is most men fall within about 1 inch of each other, right? So they're very similar in size.
And it's something that seems to be very much so Googled by men. So our camera guy pointed out, well, women want bigger. But I think that's the perception. We don't really care as long as you know what you're doing.
Yes, correct. Well, and if 12%, about 12% of men. So if you think that yours might be smaller than the average, know that you're probably pretty close to the average and they're about 1 inch off or very within 1 inch of each other. But only 12% of men will actually think that they're small. In some of these studies, it was up to 50% were unhappy with their size. But about 85% of women are happy
and satisfied
with their partner's size. And as women who spend a lot of time each day talking about this, we would agree with that stat. That's a pretty accurate stat that I don't hear women frequently saying at all.
It is. I've never had a patient come in and say, how do I enlarge my penis or my husband's penis or my partner's penis? Or how do I get more girth for him? Or what do we do for that? I've never had anyone ask me that for their partner.
No, I have not. We have a lot of women and both men, but we do have a lot of women that want harder erections again, for sure.
Yes.
But they're not talking about just an overall size increase of their husband or significant
or a girth issue.
Yeah. They're not talking about penis size. They're talking about maybe they're not consistently getting the erections, or maybe they're not as large as they used to be because their erection strength isn't what it used to be. Yeah. But they're not saying they inherently want to have their significant other with a bigger penis. So yeah, I would agree with you. I did have one because we do all the regenerative procedures, but I do girth max procedures or filler injections into the penis for enlargement, and that's girth. And again, there's really no way to increase length. Potentially, you can use a penis pump.
I say potentially.
A traction device, include the suspensory ligament, and then potentially get an increase in length. But really, there's no way to increase length. But filler can increase girth, and I did have one man that wanted to do it and hasn't proceeded with it yet. But his significant other was threatening that if he did it, she would be very unhappy. and
I
leave
mean,
him
I could
without
get that.
sex. And he was still thinking about it. So that was how much it bothered him. But she was happy with it, and she was unhappy that he wanted to pursue it too. So it was kind of the opposite of what you were saying.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. I think men are pretty hyper-focused,
Mm-hmm.
and we are not that focused. I guess my only disagreeing to that statement is that would be, there's no way to improve length. If we're having blood flow issues, by improving blood flow, you could improve some length by improving blood flow, but that would have been the length that was already there previously.
Yes.
So
correct.
we do have some men that come in and say, I feel like the length isn't there like it used to be when I was younger, but that's more of a blood flow or hormonal based issue, not necessarily.
Yeah, correct. Well,
Yeah.
and so when we start talking about the ways that you can do that, and we'll go into the different, we actually have some pretty fun, like just quick fire questions that Faraday's gonna fire at me and I don't even know what they are. And we'll just have fun answering those. But I would say that even our regenerative procedures, there are a lot of younger men that will come in for that size increase and online and all the chats and in the online forums, it'll say that you could potentially have an increase in size, length, and girth with, say, for instance, the P shot. We have a lot of younger men that will come in
Yes.
for that, and we don't advertise that. And I say for older guys or men with erectile dysfunction that I agree with you that it could potentially increase. I do think that they could get an increase in size, but it's only the size that they kind of lost from the
Yes.
erection strength. And we don't advertise, although there are a lot of men that report a size increase with a P shot.
Yeah, I
And
came
so,
across like a Reddit thread that
yeah.
men had posted the change pre and post P shot where they had measured length and diameter and had seen improvements.
Yes. Yeah.
But that's not something, again, that we advertise because we're trying to improve function.
Yes. And I don't want to ever over promise
Yeah.
something that isn't a guarantee. And so, yes, that has been reported, but that's not the primary reason that we're doing it. And just so people are realistic and their expectations are realistic.
Think of it as a
But
fun bonus.
yeah, a fun bonus. Yeah. I was almost going to something else with that. But I think that what has become clear with this podcast is that men are thinking about it way more than women. And so if you happen to be one of those men, just know that it's probably more of a comparison issue than it is a size issue. And there's probably lots of different ways we can compare now. And there's a lot more, porn viewing. And, again, we're not saying anything negative or positive about that in this podcast. We're just saying that comparison might be, sticking with you. And so the things that I think are unrealistic in porn are potentially size, might not be the average. And if the average is 5.1 and most men are 1 inch, within 1 inch of each other.
Right. Dirk Diggler didn't become famous because he was average.
Correct.
But he was the exception.
Yeah. So I think that's one misperception of porn. And
Yeah.
then the other is like they're like rock stars and lasting forever. They're all on something to do that. And they also have mentally, worked that. Just like you get very good at your job, they get very good at their job. And so those are two misperceptions. But women aren't walking around worried about your penis size. And as long as you know how to use it and do all the other things, which we've talked about, which involve arousal.
Yes.
A lot of it isn't about penetration necessarily. By the time you get to the penetration, she should be there or done, right? For the most part, because arousal in our penis equivalent is the clitoris. And so you need to spend a lot of time. And we've said that so many different ways. And then by the time you're actually penetrating, that she's completely happy. And so there is no woman that is going to complain if you know how to do all the things. So.
And I think it's like less than 2% of men are actually in the category of medically small. So if every guy has Googled it and the average is 5.1 and 12% feel smaller, realistically under 2% of men are considered medically small.
And it's actually less than 0.5%. I think it's like
for micro.
4%. Micro is like if you're less than 2.9 inches in length and in less than it was like, I think 0.14% reported. So less than 1%.
Yes.
So it's that uncommon. And so
the likelihood you fall into that category is minimal.
yes. So I think we should do again, the different ways, and we'll do this with I'm sure one of the questions is how we do it, but the different procedures that we would do to help get erections back and therefore size would be acoustic shockwave, where we're doing the acoustic shockwave using a communication of acoustic waves with the penis to communicate with the tissue to get regeneration, better blood flow, better erections, better nerve sensitivity, orgasmic strength. P-shots.
Yeah, so that's platelet-rich plasma, where we draw your blood, spin it down, and then re-inject back into the penis to help, again, with those same things we talked about with the acoustic shockwave, regeneration, blood flow, remodeling of the vessels.
Yes, and we're very comprehensive with how we address things. And so with the P-shot, there is on the forums, like we talked about a 20% increase in size that will be reported across, different chats or forums. And so there is that potential in addition to just harder erections if you're younger and you wanted size. Vacuum erection devices or the penis pumps are another thing that I think are fabulous, for increasing size.
And that's just blood flow. That's getting blood flow into the penis, which then thickens and elongates.
Yeah. And it really
just by
is
function.
that girth improvement that you get with the penis pump. So that's super important too. And then filler.
Yeah.
There is filler that you can inject into the penis, and it's done on the sides. And so that's more of a girth issue too. It's a very simple procedure and tolerated with great outcomes. Actually, it's what I call addictive. And so men do tend to like it and want to repeat and have good results with that. Just so you know, and the complication rate is super low.
As long as you go to someone who is very well trained.
Yes. Oh, absolutely.
Because if you go to someone who is not used to doing this procedure, there are some issues like asymmetry. You have vessels there. You don't want someone to get into a vessel. It's a very superficial procedure.
It's one big vessel.
Yeah.
The penis is
Yes.
two big vessels. So no, I absolutely
And then
agree.
infection is the other one again.
Yeah. And Botox, or Botox, or, a similar, I say Botox is a verb. So you're, taking something that paralyzes muscle and injecting it into the penis for better erections. But also that's one of those that you could increase size when you're flaccid. So if you're walking around and you tend to retract, maybe
The be a
grower.
shower, not a grower.
Yes, exactly. Then potentially a Botox where you're paralyzing the smooth muscle, and the smooth muscle is the vascular wall, and so therefore you get increased blood flow and better erections, but you also get a bigger flaccid penis, which is good.
That's an option. Yeah.
And that's an option as well. And so, but if you just think, there's a med spa, there's more med spas there's as many med spas as a McDonald's now.
It's crazy to think about that.
Med spa nation. I like that term.
So again, going to somebody very well qualified that has done the procedure more than once.
Correct. So in other words, you're not looking to a med spa for this.
Yeah.
So if med spas, again, on every corner, and Botox and filler is what they do, those are entry-level procedures, but they are not injecting penises. So that's not where you want to go for penis filler. Somebody definitely experienced some.
Yeah. The only one we didn't talk about is surgery, but we don't recommend that. It has a very high complication rate. It's just not worth it.
Yes. No. Well, go
but
ahead.
It's out there.
Yeah. And it's last resort for sure. So yeah, you need to
some questions.
Fire away.
So the first one, true or false? Most men wish for a bigger penis than they wish for more hair.
And I would say yes.
Yeah, and that's true.
Mm-hmm.
More men are searching for and wanting an enhancement in penis size than they are wanting for hair regrowth.
So if you're thinking about gift carding for Christmas, definitely now you know where to gear that
spend
towards.
some money.
Yes, yeah, maybe not the hair restoration, but that's an interesting one too, because again, I think that brings up the 2 points that you talked about off camera before, is that women may overestimate the men that want an increased penis size. So I just said, yes, love to open up a conversation in the chat and in the comments to see what your feedback is. but I would say yes. And then men overestimate the importance to a woman, and 85% of women are happy.
I never would have even thought about a gift card for something like that. It wouldn't have even crossed my mind.
No, exactly. But it is, I guess, at least something to open the conversations, if nothing else. And then, but 85% of women are happy, and men overestimate
how much we care.
Yeah, how much we care. Yeah.
So next one. What spikes every January? Gym memberships or searches for penis enlargement?
Both.
That's right. It was trick. It was both. But actually, when it comes down to the actual search engines, the penis wins.
Oh, yeah.
So think about that. Men and women search for gym memberships. But every year, gym memberships spike because everybody, new year, new you. It shows that in the searches that for men and male enlargement, penile enlargement is the highest out of those two. That surprised me because I thought we only have one gender really looking for male enhancement. Gym memberships, you have men and women looking.
And what did you find when you looked at women searching for how to make a penis larger?
Yeah, it said it didn't exist in the literature, that there was no studies on it because, again, when you're looking at 85% of women are happy, it's just not worth doing a study on.
Yes, correct. And so that search doesn't exist. So just
I couldn't find anything.
Brings the point home that, all right.
Okay, so what do women care more about? Length, girth, or enthusiasm?
Girth.
Ooh, wrong. Enthusiasm. We kind of talked about that. We don't really care about the length and the width as long as you know what to do about it.
You threw me off a little because you said something about girth. I heard you in the background and you were saying something about girth being important. So
she just wanted to get it right. But
I was going for it. It's like that's how you do bad on a test is you overthink the answer.
That's
right?
it.
Yeah.
We don't care that much. It's enthusiasm.
Enthusiasm. And so, yes, no, I would agree with that.
So what percentage of men think they're below average?
So what percentage?
Not small, below average.
50%.
Yep. About half. Way more than what you would think. Yep. About half of men think that, even though we know the data of what is small is actually minimal comparatively.
So 50% versus less than 1%.
Yep. What's more common, men feeling small or men actually being medically small?
Feeling small.
Yeah, we already kind of went over that. That wins by a landslide. We already talked about the stats earlier.
Yeah.
So that's an easy one.
Yeah.
How about a couple myth versus fact? Women want a porn-sized penis.
False.
Yeah, false, right?
Yeah.
The myth is bigger is better, but the reality is ouch.
Yeah. Ouch. So I will also say it's not based on massive amounts of experience, but just again, we talk with women a ton and yes, we understand this area very well, but I feel like a man with a bigger penis potentially are very well endowed. Obviously, so people have commented over the years that they're probably going to work less for it and be less enthusiastic, and it's just a come get me, right?
They present.
They just present, right? It's an ouch, and they're presenting. They're presenting with their ouch, right? Yeah, they're leading with it. So I think that could potentially lead to a more selfish lover as well. So yeah,
potentially. Maybe we'll look up that on a podcast.
Yes. Yeah.
So the next one: all men who want to be bigger are insecure.
False.
Yeah. So myth is everyone else is bigger, but the fact is most men fall within an inch of each other. It is just sometimes competition.
Yeah. Do you think that men are having conversations with each other about
No,
this? No.
I think that they're all just looking.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Googling.
Yes. Private.
We could always ask our videographer.
Yes. Well, he already kind of hinted to the fact because when we said 85% of women were happy, he said what percentage of those were lying, which brings us to the point that men really are overestimating that.
Yes.
And not even believing that two women are sitting here saying, we believe that stat. So, yeah.
Yeah. So that's all I had for you, just a few of them.
That's it?
That's it. Sorry.
Wow, nothing even that difficult. But yeah, so I don't think anything's broken. I think there's a comparison issue. I think that just know that most of the time that's all it is. And
that you're normal. We're happy.
Yeah. And just know the important thing, I think, for men is to obviously be enthusiastic, but to know that a lot of the arousal and the sexual satisfaction for women lies outside of the vagina and penetration.
Yeah.
And so you got to spend some time there. You got to get to know the clitoris and the female sexual
And
system,
the
right?
confidence.
Yeah.
I mean, I was just talking about this in clinic with a patient recently. You guys get stuck in this head and you can
Yeah.
kind of ruin it for yourselves. So if you're constantly worried or thinking about size or thinking you're not measuring up appropriately, that'll kill sexual function.
Yeah.
It really will.
And most of the time, you can probably just drag out the foreplay for a long period of time and they'll be happy. And yeah. But anyhow, so that was interesting. Let's start a conversation in the comments. We love the comments. Thank you guys for always being so active with those. They're fun. And let us know if there's anything else that you want to talk about, but also hit the subscribe button so that you get notifications if you like the content we're putting out. But we are willing to deep dive into anything sexual wellness. So let us know. Thank
Thank
you.
you.